Hello.
Hi, James and James.
What's up?
Good day.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Will.
Oh,
Yeah, yes, I can, now I can hear everybody. Thank you very much, showing up. I didn't share agenda before, sorry. Should have done next time. And if I share the agenda, then it will be clearer. Anyway, so let's start, okay? So let me first share my screen. Wait a moment. Yeah, to share the screen, we need some trick. Yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay. So first, this is an interesting software that emulates the old terminal. I'm having fun today with this. Let me walk you through the two topics I want to talk today. One is we're certainly able to finish. The other may or may not, and we can start it. So the first topic is how does this what if the event can, if the attribute value can be sourced from an event as well as from a Ethereum function, then how does it work in reality? And I will walk you through the process. This is just the first time I present this. Thinking can change anytime, and if you provide any suggestions, I'm happy to explore different ways to design it. Okay, so first, starting from here, this is a very simple example, and we assume a case where this is like FIFA ticket or a Ethereum meetup ticket, where value changed is a Ethereum event that would affect two token attributes. One is locality and the other is street. So locality is, for example, Sydney, and street is, for example, 155 Clarence Street. So this is the example here. And then you guys can see the highlighted portion, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Boone says yes, so it must be everybody. Actually, it makes it less clear if I highlight it. Okay.
But there seems to be a very bad refreshing redrawing problem.
yeah.
I
have the same issue that it flickers and then shows a bit of the desktop, and then it goes back and shows the terminal.
I think it might be your emulation, your weird console emulation things. It didn't used to happen when you had it plain.
Okay, so let me try a different one. Okay, let me restart sharing. Okay, let me restart sharing.
Does someone in your house have corona?
Could be. I don't know.
Don't stand too close to the microphone, then we don't want to catch it out over here.
So who was it? My mother and my kid had this about 3 weeks ago. We thought it was common cold, but then after that it never recovered. So they still keep coughing. It's almost 3 weeks now. But there's no fever, and there's no fever, and there's no other symptom. We called up COVID-9, and they say that this doesn't qualify as a COVID potential case. And then we just waited. And weird enough, there's nothing except coughing. So I'm not super twitchy. If you guys want, I can stop going to the Friday party. I mean, I need a more subtle hint than that. Nobody would say I don't want you to be in the party. So what's the social norm? How to anyway? Never mind about that. So can you guys can you guys see
Let's
this?
get on with it. Yes, that's much better.
Yeah. Okay. So now do this playground event. Okay. Okay. Oh, I realized that this doesn't look as nice as the one I had before because the color scheme is bad. Because normally I work with the other one. So let me do something. I don't know what to do with it. So can you guys get by with it? It will look particularly bad with green text on the brown background. Well, there must be a way to change it. See if I can change it. Oh, I forgot it. I can do it the other way around. Sorry, I can. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, this is so much nicer. Okay, so let me share this one instead. Okay, this is the most beautiful thing so far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's legible.
Okay. So actually, it should be bigger. If I resize it, I hope it also size also changes from at your side. No, it doesn't. So if I change the size, it's broken slightly. So I have to get it back, I guess. Okay, never mind. Okay, so let's look at this. The first example, locality, and here you can see the locality has two origins. One is value change, where you can select the new locality element from the value change event. It's defined somewhere else, but you got an idea.
Wait, can we just clarify something?
Yeah.
So the summary for what you're doing is this is the purging caches on new events.
Oh yes, the theme. The theme is
the theme. Yes.
Yeah, the theme is how to cache attributes. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Good. All right.
Okay.
Just checking.
Yeah. So this is an example. First, you can source the value change from new value from value change event, or you can get it from a function call to get locality. And the same for street. You can change it from value change. You can get the new street value from value change, or you can call the smart contract, right? So yeah. So since the event is the primary source, in theory, TokenScript engine shouldn't need to ever call get locality or get street, because if this is if the cache is empty, it can simply fetch the latest event that matches the criteria and get the value from there. And if the cache is not empty, if the cache is not empty, the engine can simply find all the events that happen between the caged value. Every time you have caged attribute, you can also cage the block height, so you can find out all the events that happens after that block height, and you can still find the latest one. So yeah,
that makes sense. If you if all of your attributes are sourced from events, I can.
Yeah, I know.
That's good.
Okay, yeah, I'll get there. But I will actually provide a reason why sometimes you need to get locality and get straight. And my suggestion is the first time, if the cache is empty, it should fetch the value from smart contract function call. But that's just what I think now. We can discuss that. So from this point on, I should be using a word called blockchain TokenScript engine, and this is the creation from James Saki. The reason being that if we say user agent, then it's not TokenScript engine does not necessarily work in the user agent. So you can imagine that being deployed on the supernode, for example, in order to index all the blockchain layer, token layer, and provide token data to other services. Okay. So this is how the caching will work. So with notification service, the attributes are updated as notifications come in. Without notification service, the engine always have to check the events when it needs to find a new value. With this design, even if there is no notification service, merely having found no events will save you 2 function calls. So there's still some improvement even without notification service. So my thinking here is that in terms of Alpha Wallet, what we can do is if the user goes to the wallet tab, Alpha Wallet should first use all caged values to render the views, and then spawn the process and find out which view has to be regenerated. If the view is supporting if the view has something like React.js, you can notify the view to update. Otherwise, you can discard the view and paint another one. And it's I also need to mention that if any of the token attribute is updated, the token view has to be discarded and regenerated or updated, because there is no way to know which view used which attribute. You cannot find the subset of attribute that actually is used in the view and only update the view if the subset is updated. And that's the situation. So the other thing, there are two. I think I have these two thinkings together here. So let me. Okay, let me put this in a separate paragraph so it's clearer. The other requirement, if you would say, is that I believe notification service should not be a dependency for the wallet to function at the level of online banking apps, which means if there's no notification service at all, or if the wallet is aware that there is a notification service, but notification service is down, and the wallet is not aware that notification service is down, then the wallet should still behave at the same level that today's online banking app should behave, which is it cannot notify users of incoming transactions or incoming or recent withdrawals. But if you open the app, it can still refresh the view to reflect the correct balance and the correct token data. Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Can for line 43 and 44, how does what is in the notification payload?
Only the event. Or it was, in fact, we haven't designed that, but in fact, I'm thinking only that a event matching the criteria has happened, not even the event content itself, because the event content can be obtained from node.
So one of the things the wallet, the TokenScript engine have to do is to publish the list of contracts tokens is listening for.
Yeah, it should listen to a channel and create the channel if needed, but that should be done transparently. For example, if you are listening to an event that nobody else listens to, then the notification server should automatically create a channel for it.
Does it, for example, in this example, in line 18 on the panel on the right, it should listen to the venue change event, listen for that event. If I modify the TokenScript file to remove this event from this file, does the TokenScript engine, is it responsible for unsubscribing to it?
So normally we should not expect the wallet to be able to unsubscribe anything. So if you the server will just simply keep sending events If there might be expiration, like if you keep sending event for a year, it still stop sending event.
Okay.
You can do the unsubscription, I guess, but we cannot rely on that. Unsubscription is only for the purpose of saving users' data. It's not for the purpose of making the server aware of the event is no longer being watched. It can serve that purpose, but you cannot rely on it.
Okay.
The detail of how notification service is designed, I don't have an idea.
Does
Like
line 73 rely on where the token instances, the token IDs come from? Remember we talked about distinct and do we supply the list of token IDs outside, or do we get it based on this definition?
This is not a distinct one. I have a very simple filter here, which is owner equals to owner address, because I think that is a separate issue. If I write,
I know. I understand. Yes, it's different. But I asked because if the list of token IDs is supplied from outside, then line 73, that event might not have been fired ever. That makes sense, right?
I'm trying to figure this out.
Do you mean if it's say I'm browsing from a web page and I'm looking at a token, but I have not specified the owner address? Is that what you mean, Bruno?
Oh no! For example, I have for this contract, this token, I have three tokens, three token IDs. Let's just call them token IDs. So when trying to figure out the value for this attribute called locality, the value change event might have not fired before. Is that possible? Because earlier on you were talking about caching, and we might never call get value function.
Yeah. So for example, there might be a thing called value allocated, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So so in this case,
then how do we know when we call the callback, when we use the fallback get event, get value function?
Surely wouldn't you put an event into the constructor or something when you first set it? If you're going to depend on this.
Is what you said related to what he said?
Well, if you put when you first set the value, you do venue changed. Then, if you've generated that event at the start, then you've always got at least one venue change.
But we cannot anticipate what the smart contract author will do.
Yeah, for sure.
The guy might only fire event if value changed, and there will not be any event at all. Or there might be event venue allocated, or there might be no event at all.
Okay. So have you thought about the fallback syntax then?
Sorry, wait a moment.
Okay.
Fallback one is a different one. So this one addresses in such a way that the logic is if there is an event, then you read the data from the event. When I say that, I mean if there is a cache in the event, that means events are cached. If there is no event in the cache, then we have to find we have to refresh the event cache, or we can call the contract. I recommend the strategy to be calling the contract instead of refreshing the event cache. If the event is not in the cache,
calling the contract is good, but you need to specify how to call the contract, what method to call.
Yes, it's called get venue.
Yes, I know. I see. Right. Okay. So that Ethereum call module is the thing to do if there's no.
Well, we are looking at the wrong example. This is the right one. So this is the next example. This is explanation text. So we are looking at this one.
Okay.
So, or this one. Okay, then there's a second problem that if there's no way to get it from a function, right? So that's an issue. For example, if the only way to get it from event is from event, yet there are two events. One is called value allocated, the other is called value changed, because the smart contract author simply didn't provide a getter, and that can happen too, right? So that case might need to be solved. But can we come back to solve this issue later? First, let's think up let's talk about how the values are caged, and then we come back to how to make sure it's fully caged. Yeah. Okay. So that's a valid question. I will write it down here. Okay. So okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've noted down this one. We'll come back to this one. Thank you very much for bringing this up. So next one is that sorry. Okay, so in this example, the new one, there is no in this one, the existence of event as a origin does not save any data fetching effort. Because in the previous example, you can argue that you can only need to fetch the event once instead of calling two functions, one being get locality and the other being get street. In this one, however, the smart function call is called, let me see if I can make it clear. Yeah, should be better now. Okay. Where it is now? Yeah. So the smart contract function call is called get venue. And there's a module here because this function returns that object. And that object is defined somewhere. So in this case, the smart contract author decided to return that object with the locality and the street, instead of getting them separately through two view function calls. And in this case, because you get one function call and returns both locality and street, there's really no advantage of performance advantage of declaring which event is interesting, except being compatible with notification server. So far, so good.
Are you saying that there's no reduction in data because you're just referring to the results, not the number of calls?
The number of calls, no, I don't understand.
If I'm assuming that if it's aware of events, it doesn't have to
make a function call
and poll.
But suppose there is no notification server, then polling for event is the same effort as calling the smart contract again.
Oh, right. Okay. So this is without notification server.
Yeah, yeah. But with notification server, you will stop polling. That's for sure. That's implied. notification server is designed to make you stop polling.
Okay.
Polling, yeah. Okay. This is also an example where smart contract returns a data object. I think this is not avoidable. Anyway, and then we look at this to make the. I hope this would make your viewing experience better because text will be bigger.
Sorry, then I have one more question regarding that. Are we designing this so that event support is optional, or are we only designing as notification support is optional? Why do you compare this? Because it sounds like you're saying event support is optional.
No, I think this is just well, event support is always needed because without it, notification server that cannot help anything, right? Otherwise, you don't know what you ask from notification server. So we need event anyway. So, but we don't need optional. We don't. The notification server is optional, and I don't understand your question. Sorry, say that again.
Sorry, I wasn't clear. If you look at your comment on line 70 to 72, you're comparing the difference between when events are supported and when events are not supported. When is events not supported?
Currently, the current version on Play Store. So I'm explaining that in this scenario, our next release with event support will not have performance advantage, which is okay.
Okay, I see.
So this is people will say, why do I add event? Is it for performance or is it for notification support? And I will say mostly for notification support and also for performance. But sometimes performance gain is visible, as in the previous example, and sometimes performance gain isn't there, and its event is just there for. So the angle of the explanation. This shows that event is mostly designed for notifications and the performance gain event will not be needed, right? And sometimes there isn't performance gain. Sometimes there isn't performance gain with the Ethereum event. Yeah. Okay. Is that okay for you?
Yes. Thanks for clearing it up.
Okay. Then let's continue. This is the example that we finished the example. Let's look at the next one. This is the next one. Sometimes it's not possible to get the token attribute from an event. For example, when the token's official price is determined by the Reserve Bank's rate, therefore updated by its change event, updated by its change. So an event called rate changed. So in this case, we have an event which has rate changed, and it is from Reserve Bank Oracle. That's a special contract. And there's no way to get the attribute value from this event. We know that this event would certainly trigger the attribute value to change, but we cannot get it from the event. In this case, it's not possible to get the official rate from the event thanks to the lack of select. There's no select in the event. You cannot get the value. The engine has to fall back to Ethereum core, which is this section. However, it only needs to call get official price if there's a new matching event or if the cache is empty. Meaning that even if the event cannot provide the value for the attribute, it still serves to let the engine know if they should make the call. Right?
So basically,
Yes.
if there's no select, then you have to make the call. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, there's no select, meaning that you capture the event, and the event means that this attribute type has changed.
Yeah.
However, you cannot get the attribute from the event, so you have to go to the next source.
Okay.
This is one way to design it. The other way is to make it explicit, like this: updated by equals to event rate changed, and then give it a name. But that would be a lot more stuff. You see what I mean here?
Can you just make line 99 a child of 98?
Yeah, we can do that too. So that's one design too. So sorry. Okay, so I'll copy this and paste it. And let's look at alternative design. Yeah, this is you would agree that both of these two are better than reference. Or do you?
Oh, I was suggesting line 105 and 106 to be swapped.
Oh,
swap the parent and
so
child.
you want to do this? Okay, yeah, okay. So this means this is the event, right? And this means the call, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's one design. The third one is a reference, which I think I felt nobody would like it, but I write it anyway here. Okay. Sorry, let me cut it and paste it. Mm-hmm. Make sense?
Yes.
And not beautiful, right?
And yes, and hard for auto completion to help.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's look at next topic. So I would think that we are going to choose between these two. Okay. And the way to choose it is to look at how attestation gets into the game. Because when the attestation meshes into the game, everything gets funnier. I'm okay with both, by the way, so far, presently. Okay. And next, let's look at this example. If there's no event preceding the call, or there's no event associated with the call, then the attribute value is considered always dirty, meaning that this value has to be refetched every time when needed. Which means every time when the user opens the wallet tab, the engine has to make an Ethereum call to the function get office price just to check if the value has changed or not. And notification service will not be able to help because the event is not defined here. But in this case, we still need to cache the value so that next time the user opens the wallet, they can still see the view without waiting for the answer, waiting for the update. That also makes sense, right?
Yes, but just one observation. I was making some changes to the TokenScript engine for iOS today, and I noticed that if you have attributes like the one you just talked about, the one that's highlighted, and you have a few of them, and a few of them depend on each other, it starts to become very painful. When do you reach a steady state when the values are updated or updated and displayed?
Yeah, it's you have to do two things. First, build the dependency tree, and second, to monitor the cache value. So you know that if the one of the item becomes dirty, marking the second one becoming dirty, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
yes.
a lot of.
Yeah, implementation is one thing, is quite a bit of work, but the other is it takes a while to settle down because there might be several calls one after another.
Yeah, which means the delay will be huge sometimes.
Yes, and most of the time the result displayed might be wrong or outdated. I don't have a solution.
Yeah, I was hoping, James, that you said that you wrote the dirty marking code and the dependency tree, right?
The dependency tree is definitely not complete, but the dirty marking one, I just use a heuristic. We talked about designing it, but basically, if the call is on a contract that is not a token, or is a token that we're not tracking, then it doesn't cache the value. It just always fetches.
And I hope because this bit of code might be sensitive. Any bug in it is going to have implications. Very hard to find behavior problems. It is a good idea to put that into some sort of library.
Yeah.
And make it shareable between Android and iOS. It's not so easy to do it because it also have to access database. But if this work has not been started, we may consider putting that into some kind of library. But this is getting too long. Shall we focus on the current one? Okay. So this is a related issue, not the one we are talking about. So the next one is, in some cases, an attribute value is so volatile that it changes on every block. This is typical if block hash is used for a perceived randomness, which is not true. It's not truly random. The miners can generate different block hash at a very high rate. A common but unsafe use, that is. In such cases, the view will always be wrong. So we were hoping that the view will be wrong only if something changed in between the cache and the present. But if there is a volatile value like this, then the view is guaranteed to be wrong. In that case, I put this little thing here and hope it helps. Does it make sense to you?
Yes.
In that case, you simply cannot generate a view. You have to leave it blank and then load it later. And this is a very, very bad design because it's going to invite abuse. Somebody is going to put cache equals to false during debugging for every attribute. And then when he signs it, his view will never be generated instantly, always generated later than other views. So right here, I'm foreseeing the abuse of this, especially if we have a bug in the dirty data marking stuff. Then that would force the developer to add cache equal to false, and then it will be really bad. So I think we should limit it to use only in cards. And that begets the interesting question that do we cache the attributes in cards to start with? Or maybe we can simply say that every attribute defined in the cards are not caged. But that's not good because you need sometimes you need, it's hard to say.
Can we throttle the number of calls instead?
Pardon?
Can we put a limit, yes, on the number of calls per minute or per second instead? For example,
yes,
an attribute can only refresh like 5 times maximum within a minute.
We can do this, but we cannot put this into TokenScript. It has to be in TokenScript engine. The reason is it's going to be abused if this in TokenScript.
Yes, so even if they specify cache equals to false, the attribute will never be refreshed beyond that limit within a certain time frame. That would kind of solve that problem, right?
Yeah. Limit is
without modifying or adding to TokenScript itself.
Yeah. Limit 1, only inside cards. Limit 2, TokenScript engines, internal throttling. Yeah. Additional feature. Not on in English. Yeah. So this is early draft. I just leave the ideas floating. Okay. Okay. So this is the rest of the part is too. We don't have to go through this meeting. The rest is not clear enough. Yeah, just leave them in a separate discussion. So we have 2 minutes left. So we didn't have time to start a second conversation, which is how to describe attestation in TokenScript. So you know that in email attestation case, we have 3 data objects. One is the CSR. The other is, and there has to be a way that these are encoded in TokenScript. And this is a second issue. And when we have the event and call and attestation as 3 data origins, we will have a better idea to examine what is the best way to design origins. Yeah, okay. So the 45 minutes is closing time. If you have a question, you can ask. If you want to leave early, you can leave. Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Why does the CSR has to be in TokenScript?
Because it needs to be signed by the user. So we try to protect the user so that they don't sign stupid things. If this is a message that is produced by the website, then the website might present it to the user to sign it, and there's no TokenScript protection. But it asks, your question also implies another question: why do someone need to sign CSR? And this is taught on the channel, because I don't see why it has to sign CSR anyway. If you fake a CSR, you simply get a fake certificate which you cannot use for any scenario anyway. I talked with Tor about this issue before. Why CSR needs to be signed? Since he's not here speaking for himself.
I'm here. I'm just trying to get an exactly this flow.
Okay, so if you want to look at this, it's in the previous TokenScript meeting. I'm opening the browser to find it, the meeting notes. Okay, so let me share the screen with you guys. Weird. This thing doesn't allow me to share browser. I can only share the full screen. The browser is not one of the apps that can share. Okay, I have to share the whole desktop. 30 32, yeah. Okay. So last time we decided that these data objects are needed. This needs to be refined, but that's the gist of it, right? The first being the CSR, certificate signing request, the second being the email attestation, and third being the check, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So all of them needs to be signed, and I think I asked Boone. Sorry, I asked Tor before why CSR needs to be signed. This is the question was asked way early, like in the TokenScript meeting number 10 or something. Because if you generate a fake CSR, useless CSR, you simply get useless attestation, right?
Yes.
And what was the reason CSR has to be signed? Oh, is there? Does it need to be signed? Traditionally, it was signed, by the way.
I think the reason might have been like basically not as much the security as we say, avoiding the problem of signing gibberish. I mean, I think as far as I remember, it might have been just to basically prove the Bob actually knows the private key.
Oh, okay.
Has a private key, yeah.
So one thing you can do is to create a gibberish CSR and somehow make it pass the authorities' security parameter. So the authority would by accidentally have signed something. Yeah, very dangerously. If you can carefully find a way for them to sign stupid stuff that breaks the security, if we require CSR to be signed, then the adversary has to not only create the crafty message to be signed, but also somehow create the corresponding private key, which will be as difficult as breaking the private key.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we also just get sort of a linking as well. I can't imagine it. I cannot remember if there was any other like very specific security reason, but I mean, it's definitely the nice thing to do, also to avoid like all these different angles, because it's really hard to imagine all possible attack angles and things like that. And by doing this, we have sort of
close the attack surface. Yeah. Okay. So is this answering your question?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for everybody for going through this process with me. And I will prepare next one next time when the token attestation mixed into origins. Okay. Okay. See you guys in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
拜拜，你等着，你把你那快点拿。啊，辛苦你了。